Hello, welcome to Between the Waves, where I talk about anything music, from albums to artists, songs to synths, and today we are reviewing the legendary debut album by Australian drum and bass act Pendulum, and this is their album Hold Your Colour, or Hold Your Colour, because I have both of the CDs. This one's better. So yeah, this is probably one of the best just drum and bass albums ever made. Rob Swire, Gareth McGrillen, KJ Salker, Ben Mount, and the guy with the really hard to pronounce Welsh name. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through and I'll tell you my personal opinions about it. But yeah, this album opens with Prelude, which, with it being an album opener, is still one of my favourite songs. That Twilight Zone sample is really good. It just builds. Just like builds up the energy and is a really good like opening sort of like style for the album, I guess, which is sort of Pendulum's distinct style, which to be honest they broke away from after this, but at the time that would have been, you heard a Twilight Zone sample, you heard sort of spacey vocals, you would have known, oh yeah, that's Pendulum. And then we build into the abrasive, the harsh, the loud, the aggressive Slam with the funny fat naked man music video. But Slam is such like a good track, and having Prelude before it just sort of like, it's like listening to Slam but like an extended version. Is really just, if you haven't listened to the album already, you need to listen to it with Prelude at the start. But yeah, Slam is like got such a good drop. So the whole album itself feels quite spacey, which you'll definitely hear later on with some of, especially the ending track, Another Planet, from the 05 release, which is sadly not on that one. But yeah, Plastic World, with some great vocals from either, I think it's Fats rather than TC, but I think they both wrote the lyrics. It's just such a different contrast, but it still flows with the album so well. And it's even got that like saxophone bit, which is amazing. Just builds on the whole album. But yeah, Plastic World is such like a chill song, and that sort of saxophone, I'm not sure if it's I think it's actually played, I don't think it's a sample. It's not something you'd expect in drum and bass, but it just works really well, which is I think what makes Pendulum so good. They like did stuff that sort of isn't for the genre, and they took it from like, I think the best way I can describe it is from Brown Paper Bag by Ronnie Size and Represent. I think they use sort of instruments that aren't normal in the genre. But that saxophone, I just really like Plastic World as a song. It is, I think, one of my favourite songs from the album. Fasten Your Seatbelts is a lot slower. Not a lot slower, but it doesn't have the same like drum pattern as drum and bass. But I think it's still 174 BPM, so I think it's still classed as drum and bass, but it's a lot more. So it's not. I keep saying it's a lot, but it's not. It's slower than the rest of the album, but it's still as energetic and as aggressive as Pendulum are. It's like Fasten Your Seatbelts is such a distinct song. I think it's one. I don't think it's the first Pendulum song I heard. I think I'm gonna have to give that to probably. It's starting from Immersion, because I remember my cousin had that album. I think it was probably Watercolor was my first ever Pendulum song, and that's a very like 8-bit sort of sound. You've got that sort of video gamey lead. I'm getting completely sidetracked now. I was talking about Fasten Your Seatbelts, or Seatbelt, as I found out earlier today, that it isn't Seatbelts, and I've said that wrong for about 3 years now. But yeah, and that sort of, it's not a lead really, but it's sort of like a pluck. That saw pluck, I think is such a distinct sound that they use in Fasten Your Seatbelts. And it just, I can't explain it, but Fasten Your Seatbelts, it's growing on me. It's never my favourite song in the album, but recently I think it is growing on me, and that sort of little vocal, like chops, not chops, but like segments by the freestylers, the Sound Boy. I like that bit. It's the bit I find myself randomly quoting throughout the day. Through the Loop is such a build from the last song. You got that sample from Gene Wilder's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory performance, and I think as Gene Wilder's voice gets more aggressive and more loud, the song builds, the song it rises, and then we get the sort of scream, not scream, but yeah, I guess it is a scream, and the song drops and it's very harsh, it's very loud, it's very it's one of the sort of slam type Pendulum songs, sort of loud, growly. It's got little bits of dubstep influence as well. Yeah, I think it goes on too long. It suffers the same fate as Slam. It just goes on for far too long. Not far too long, but too long for my liking. But doesn't necessarily at all mean it's a bad song. It is a great song. Keeps falling down. Yeah. The whole album is good. I don't know there's not a bad song on it, but that might just be coming from me being extremely biased. But Sounds of Life features Jasmine Yee, who gives some really good vocals. I never used to really like Sounds of Life, but it's growing on me. It's really growing on me. I found myself listening to about 7 times in one day the other day from my Spotify. I saw it on repeat. It was oh, you've been listening to this song for 7 times. But yeah, it's sort of, although to be fair, I like it, but I always get Sounds of Life and Girl in the Fire confused. I don't really know why. But yeah, I prefer Girl in the Fire though, a lot more. I like the sort of talkative bass. The sort of sort of bass that's right from the start, and the guitar sample in it. Actually, I think the guitar in it is played live. One second. Yeah, it is. I have to come closer to show you this. Girl in the Fire, I'm not sure if it'll come out, but this is their guitars by probably the heaviest Pendulum song out there from their sort of early days before their break. You go to Tarantula with DJ Fresh, who helped produce it, MC Spider, and Ten or Fly, who plays the saxophone on it. But yeah, that Tarantula is probably the most Pendulum song. It's the sort of most drum and bass song. It's got an MC, it's got reggae samples. It's a proper dance floor banger, I'd say. And it's just it's the same as sort of Slam, Through the Loop, The Terminal, Blood Sugar. It's that sort of Slam sound, sort of loud, aggressive, and I think the MC vocals just completely top Tarantula off. I don't think it would be the same without MC Spider's vocals on it at all. It would just sound a completely different song. Maybe I'm just so used to it because I think Tarantula was one of my top songs in 2023. I listened to it so many times and I went absolutely crazy when they played it at Tribes Unite this year, which I will put a video up right now. But then we move on to probably the most forgettable Pendulum song, in my opinion, Out Here, which is the B-side for the Slam single. It's not got the same aggression and abrasiveness that Slam has in the slightest. It's not melodic, but it's also not drum and bass at all. It's got the same drum patterns, but it just doesn't have the same energy. But it also hasn't got the same melodic style as Still Grey, Sounds of Life, Plastic World. It's hard to explain, although I do quite like the Tearing Down the Wall vocals in it. I think those are very cool. And I do like Out Here, but it is, I think, my least favourite from the album. But now we're moving on to the title track, Hold Your Colour, which I think, if you've been following the Pendulum subreddit, I think is the only song left as of the date of this video being uploaded. Is the only song from Hold Your Colour left, so it's a fan favourite. and it checks out. It's very spacey, very like ethereal sounding, but also quite hard hitting at the same time. Although both times I've seen Pendulum, they've never played it live, and I think that's one of my like wishes in life, is to see Hold Your Colour played live, because it's a really good song, and I think the vocals are lifted from an old track that Rob and Gareth made when they were in like a metal or like rock band, the sort of soaking through vocals. So Hold Your Colour is a fan favourite, it's one of my favourites. I really like how sort of ethereal the start is, the sort of bleeping sound, if that makes sense, and the sort of piano. I'm not sure if it's a piano sample or like the sort of piano sound at the start, but it's a really like iconic sort of song, and so it should be. It's one of the greatest songs on the album, but they never play it live, which sucks. But one day I will hear them play Hold Your Colour live. Probably the hardest hitting, I know I said that about Tarantula. Alright, the second hardest hitting song on the album. Third actually, I'll probably give the second to Slam. The Terminal. One thing I don't like about it is how long it takes to get to the drop, but the drop is worth it because the build is really good. The sort of cutting with this and then you've got the sort of auto-tuned, vocoded, robot-y vocals. The sort of enter the maze through your reflection, I think just works so well. But the one thing I don't like is how it's very crowded. Like I know Pendulum like their songs crowded and their drums sort of very crowded sort of sounding, but I just think there's too many breaks and too many like hi-hat loops from the in the Terminal. But it does not discourage it as a bad song at all. It is a really good song. And now we're on the last song that is on both versions of the album, Streamline. Streamline is a beautiful song, in my opinion. I think it's one of the first songs that Rob properly used vocals on it, where you can tell that is Rob Swire's vocals. It's such a like, it's one of those songs that it wouldn't feel out of place on like an ambient album. Like it wouldn't feel out of place on like a Netsky album or like a Polaris sort of album. It's a real like liquid track, like liquid drum and bass is a real like proper like melodic, nice ambient sounding track, and Rob's vocals on top just build on the whole song. Streamline is one of my favourite songs that doesn't have a single, so you don't get to see all the cool early 2000s Pendulum album arts. Now, the last two songs of the album really depend on which version of the album you're listening to. On the original version from 2005, it's Another Planet and Still Grey. And on the re-release version, it's, when I can get it in frame, it's Blood Sugar and Axle Grinder. Now, for this review, I'm going to be going off the original version because it's arguably the better version. And a lot of people say that the original version flows a lot better. Like the flowing from this version isn't as good. Now, Another Planet really lives up to its name. It's a really ethereal, spacey sounding song, as well as the vocals lifted from, I think it's the musical War of the Worlds. From, I think it's the mid-70s, maybe the 80s. I cannot remember the guy's name who did it. But Another Planet is like such a distinct song because it swaps from being very melodic, very like sort of hi-hats are really fast at the start, but then it also goes to moments of being really aggressive, sort of like aggressive, loud, bass heavy, and then you've got the sort of horn sample, I think about 3/4 of the way, the sort of wah, 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 and it stops for a bit and then it goes straight back into the sort of melodic-y section. So it's a really cool song in my opinion because it changes quite a lot, and that's sort of what I really like about Another Planet. And finally, we've reached the end of the album. We've got the last track on the original, Still Grey, which I noted earlier is one of my favourite songs of all time. It's so beautiful. Rob's vocals in it are really nice. It's a really nice chill song. Sort of very similar to Streamline. It wouldn't feel out of place on like an ambient album, or like a liquid album by like Netsky. And the sort of guitar in it, also like I think it's about 3/4 of the way through as well. Just it's such a good song, and it's a way better ending to the album than Axel Grinder is on the 2007 like re-release. It rounds the album off so much better, and it's sort of Still Grey floats out and fades out. Axel Grinder kind of just ends, which is why whenever I listen to the album, I listen to it exclusively on CD, because it just flows so much better. And also for some reason on the re-release CD, there's a massive gap between Prelude and Slam, and that sucks because you don't get the sort of Slam extended version like you do with the other one. But yeah, I was talking about Still Grey. Still Grey is it's just a nice song. It's nice to listen to. It's even got a nice name. It lives up to the name. It sounds like what it's called. And yeah, that has been my review of Pendulum's Hold Your Colour, one of my favourite albums of all time, and one of the first albums that introduced me to drum and bass. But yeah, thank you for watching the first episode of Between the Waves, and I will hopefully see you in the next one, where I will probably review the next Pendulum album to carry on my discography. And my lights just turned off, so that's great. I think we just had a power cut. I'll see you in the next one. They're back now, literally just as I ended recording.